Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hey there, thanks for tuning in. Hey, if you've been paying attention to my social media feed, you will see that I started a new group called the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, and that is a complement to the book that I put out 2 months ago now called The Freedom to Say Yes. Now with the syndicate, it's all about helping entrepreneurs take the next step, and that's not necessarily young as in age. That's young in heart, young in mind, young in soul, and we'd love to have you to be a part of that, so do a little research. Reach out to me if you need to, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Today, I've got Blake Templeton on the line. He is an internationally renowned speaker on real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and alternative investments. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about today, a little cryptocurrency. He's been investing in the real estate market since the early 2000s with over 300 plus successful real estate transactions. A lot more to Blake, but what I love about Blake is when I did a little research on him on his social media. And before I say that, I just want to say that this pandemic has caused a number of things to happen. And I think one of them has been we've learned a lot more about each other, what's important to us, what we represent in life, and who we are. And I see on Blake's Instagram page, he's a passionate lover of Jesus. And I have expressed my faith as long as I've been doing this show, and everything I do, I talk about my values, God and family, God being first, family being second. And to see that on Blake's social media page, knowing that he's got a big business. Blake, I'm pleased to have you on the line. I'm pleased that you are open with your faith and your direction in your company. And we'd love to hear your story today.
Hey, Jim, I appreciate that. One, I appreciate you bringing me on. And two, I appreciate you highlighting that. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, everything has come down to even from the very beginnings of starting the business in 2006, I dropped out of college without a penny to my name, knew I couldn't, or I realized I couldn't defer student loans anymore. So I had to humbly move back in with mommy and daddy and parents. I got a letter in the mail to go to a real estate conference. And I went and I was like, this revelation, I am wired for numbers, like the optics and the metrics and the formulas. And the Lord led me into that direction. And, the end story on that 300 plus transactions. And now we run a massive hedge fund in self-storage and mobile home parks. And we run a hedge fund in cryptocurrency, in which over the last 2 years, our management's been able to provide a 3-digit rate of return to our investors. So quite proud of that. It's super exciting, but the Lord he's weaved himself through everything. When there was a obstacle or when there was a insurmountable, odd, I found him being the one right in the middle of it. And it was his still small voice, and it was him crafting the clay and molding and shaping and everything, even those like hurt so good moments where he was like shaping me into to think like him and to feel like him. That's what allows you to be a bigger player on the team for him, like allows him to give you more abundance, allows him to give you more success, allows him to be able to put a larger provisional opportunity in front of you, because you have to have capacity. You've got to have capacity to be able to handle that. And you've got to go through the training ground to be able to get to that. So he's been there from the very beginning, and couldn't imagine what a purpose or a mission or a vision or a dream or something, I'm in on an investment firm. I can't imagine what not allowing him to steward my investments would look like, if I leaned on my own understanding, which is obviously what most people do. They don't process from his perspective. So, it's It's the only way possible to do it.
I love hearing that. I often say, and it's one of the things that helped me transition from owning a company, having that comfort level of revenue stream, to going out and consulting completely different business, and that is having faith over fear and knowing that we'll be taking care of it. It sounds like that's a bit of your story, and I'd love to hear you touch a little bit more on having to move in with your parents, and kind of restarting, because oftentimes we feel like, gosh, that would be complete failure, but sometimes you got to reset and look at life a little bit differently, and that also includes moving back in with mom and dad or with a roommate or a friend, or making major shifts in life. And again, having that faith over fear.
Yeah, it's ironic. I was the guy who was like telling my parents, I'm not going to college. Like, you're going to college. We don't do that. And so I went to college, and 2 years later, that was their kind of their grace of go 2 years and we'll see. And so I had this huge vision that I wanted to own my own business. Didn't know how, didn't know what, but I wanted to own my own business. And it was, clearly a picture how the Lord knew I wasn't ready to just literally, shoot, fire, aim. And he did it his way. And one, if you got parents that will actually receive you back into the house, you are blessed, and that's a gracious thing for them to do. But it was also, a position of realizing, I had to realize that I didn't have everything figured out, and I had to realize I didn't have all the answers, and wisdom came from him, and I was leaning on my own understandings, trying to, figure out where and what I was going to be doing. So, yeah, and I think it's just a draw to this realization that you can only have provision in direct proportion of your capacity of your relationship with him, or what I would call your intimacy with the Lord, like our absolute relationship. So you only have a amount he can give you based on direct proportional to your relationship with him, your capacity to receive it. Obviously, that's when you see some people who gain massive wealth and it derails their identity, or it removes their focus, or the person who becomes the workaholic, trying to attain something in their own flesh, but they actually lose themselves in the middle of it, and they lose their family, lose their priorities. So yeah, I'm really big on, as we've grown, again, we run 2 large hedge funds. So as we've grown, everything, like every day, has to become grounded in, like, I just want to melt God's heart. I know what he has. I know the visions he's given me. I know how I want to change the world. I know the vigor and the vivaciousness and the like powerful, motivation that I have. But sometimes I become 220 and he wants a 110 plug, if you get what I'm saying. Like, so like, I just want to melt his heart. So it might be like not doing an investment because he didn't actually give me peace in an investment. And so that's how we run the hedge funds. The hedge funds are run from that mentality that that anything we're going into and the decisions we're making are based on, seeking him first and actually desiring his wisdom. James 1:5 says to ask for wisdom, that God won't actually judge based on where you're at to give you the wisdom. No, he'll give that wisdom abundantly, because he doesn't want you to actually be the one who doesn't have real faith because of your lack of wisdom. So he's actually willing to give the wisdom, and that wisdom then guides and guards and stewards our investment. It stewards where we invest, how we invest. Like in the cryptocurrency, for example, it's a strategy. It's a actual proprietary strategy that we use to actually build those investments. In the real estate and self-storage and mobile home communities, we actually go into that with a absolute strategy, listening to his voice, desiring to actually hear from him, and both, are doing really, really well. And if we could just transition for a second, one thing that you guys have to realize is that everything is shifting in the world, and namely, inflation is shifting. So like 35% of all money printed. So once we got off the gold standard in 1971, we started just printing money to keep the country alive. All money printed has 35% has happened in the last 24 months. So that's how bad off we are. Like that's the only bullet in the gun. So when we talk about stewardship and like thinking about your investments and where your future's going, that printing of the money dilutes the value of the dollar, because the more they actually create out of thin air, it creates a lower value of the dollar. Well, what's that really mean? It means inflation goes out the roof. So real inflation is 15%. That means if you make $100,000 salary, you really will only have $85,000 buying power by the end of the year. If you have, $1 million sitting in the bank in your savings account, unfortunately, by the end of the year, you'll only have 850,000 of actual real buying power. So it'll just vanish. You'll lose those monies. So we then want to be a good steward, and we want to be able to make enough money in our investments that we outpace inflation. You got to make more money than inflation. So that changes the whole entire way you think about stewardship. So if you are in a stock market or the bond market, or your IRAs, in a mutual fund, or you're in gold, or you would just have to now say, I want to be a good steward and say, how much money am I really making, and actually get to the bottom of what your real returns are. Because if you're not outpacing inflation 15%, you are absolutely losing money. The one thing that's really important with that is like Ray Dalio. So Ray Dalio is one of the most successful investors. He has the largest hedge fund in the world called Bridgewater. And in 2 years ago, 40% of his entire portfolio, so it's hundreds of billions of dollars in the portfolio, 40% was the bond market. Well, they didn't shift, and they got crushed in 2020 when they started printing money like it was going out of style. And when that happened, he had lost money in 22 years with his investments for his clients, and the market just fell off from under them. Now he would say, in 2017, he said, cryptocurrency, it's volatile, it'll never last. Now he says, I would rather own Bitcoin than a bond. So the market's changing, the world's changing, and you really got to shift your stewardship and how you think for your future investments.
Blake, I appreciate some color on this whole situation here. By the way, before we get too far, I think you have a code or something for people to get a discount on some of your programming. You want to throw that out there real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll actually give it to your guys for free. So this is a masterclass on how to actually get into cryptocurrency, the secrets of cryptocurrency, and how to build your all-weather portfolio. There's so much camouflage, and on the news it's so much drama, but I want to take you behind the curtains. And so this is a masterclass. It's 2 hours long. It's one of our most valuable pieces we've ever created. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you fall on the spectrum of knowledge about it. This is perfect for you. And so how you're going to get it? You're going to pull out your cell phone. You're going to text me. You're going to text the word invest to the phone number 877-771-0615. So again, you're going to text 877-771-0615. And you're going to just text me the word invest. That'll connect you and I together. Unfortunately, you can't call this specific number. This is just so I can take really good care of you guys and make sure you get this masterclass. And any other questions you have, maybe you want to join one of the funds or you want to jump on a call, this would be your easiest method of communication. And we're Johnny on the spot on responding.